What's up, Taiwan? I'm Rik Glauert with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan has launched 2 new Coast Guard vessels. President Tsai Ing-wen oversaw the delivery of one and the naming of another 4,000-ton frigate. This comes as Taiwan's Coast Guard finds itself on the front line of tensions with Beijing, as Chinese vessels continue to enter restricted waters around Taiwan's outlying islands. Tsai said the boats also show Taiwan's shipbuilding prowess.
过去，台船公司面对全球经济和产业的变动，努力维系着台湾造船产业的命脉。也因为台船累积了坚强的实力，当政府决定投入国建国造，展现台湾自主造舰的能量。
Taiwan's military is letting people hop aboard a few of its warships. It's part of a Navy open house meant to encourage enlistment. Our reporter Jaime Ocon is there.
Hundreds of people have come out to the port of Kaohsiung in southern Taiwan for a chance to get up close to these 3 warships. Now, for the next month, these ships will be making several stops around the country. The main goal is to inspire more people to enlist, but it's also a chance for upcoming Naval Academy graduates to get a real experience of life at sea.
也很高兴可以来参加敦睦远航。那我也希望未来我们能够展现我们的长才，帮助海军在可以让国人更看到。那也很高兴可以参与这次的敦睦远航，当做我们的毕业旅行。那也预祝这次敦睦远航顺利。
Taiwan's Navy is crucial to the country's security, as it's constantly on guard against Chinese warships that sail close to the country. The 3 ships here are some of the most important in the fleet. They include a support ship used to transport supplies and 2 frigate warships with advanced missiles. Like many militaries around the world, Taiwan is facing a recruitment shortage, and there are concerns that in the future there won't be enough soldiers to defend the country. And so the hope here is that these flashy systems might be able to catch the eye of the next generation of sailors. Howard Zhang and Jaime Ocon in Kaohsiung for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's military police will add a new battalion in the southern part of the capital, Taipei. It's part of the Defense Ministry's plans to double the number of military police in the city. The government hopes boosting numbers could help prevent what is known as a decapitation attack, an attack in which an invading force easily takes control of the capital. India says some of its nationals have been trafficked into the Russian army and forced to fight in the Ukraine war. India's foreign ministry says it's in talks with Russia to return the young men. At least 35 Indian nationals went to Russia to take up job offers, but ended up fighting on the front line in Ukraine. 2 are believed to have died.
Strong action has been initiated against agents and unscrupulous elements who recruited them on false pretexts and promises. The CBI yesterday busted a major human trafficking network, conducting searches in several cities and collecting incriminating evidence.
South Korea has promised to improve pay and working conditions for young doctors. That's after weeks of protests and walkouts by medical trainees there. South Korea has one of the world's fastest aging populations and faces a shortage of doctors. Protesting trainee doctors say a plan to recruit more doctors does not address long hours and low pay. Women account for a growing number of homeowners in Taiwan. As Tiffany Wong reports, it's a trend that reflects a changing society.
Giving her family a home. 70-year-old Miss Dai saved for years to buy this 890-square-foot house in New Taipei. She's part of a growing number of women buying houses in Taiwan. Women now represent more than 48% of the country's homeowners, a 10-year high. Rents are on the rise, and Miss Dai encourages other prospective homeowners not to give up on their dream.
可是我的想法是，你要有大的目标以后，你才能够有小确幸。
In the capital Taipei, the percentage of female homeowners has even surpassed that of men for the first time. Real estate market watchers say that as marriage and birth rates decline, women with fewer family burdens are choosing to buy homes for themselves. But women living alone might have some specific concerns when searching for a home.
主要的标的会以这个有管理的大楼为主，因为毕竟女孩子可能会比较在乎这个社区的这个保全维安啊。
But whether they can afford extra amenities like these depends on how much they can save. And with women's salaries still 14.7% lower than men's on average, It's clear that Taiwan's gender gap runs deep, leaving women with fewer options when it comes to climbing the property ladder. Kamasri and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
A biologist at Taiwan's National Tsinghua University has won the country's top research award for women in science. Professor Yu Sun was recognized for her research in membrane proteins, which can help in the treatment of disorders like dementia. The awards, hosted by beauty brand L'Oreal Taiwan, are meant to encourage and celebrate women in the scientific community.
成为女性而为荣，我在清华已经20多年了，所以这个奖对我来说，好像终身成就奖。
For decades, children around the world have played with Barbie dolls, but Taiwanese women were once behind the brand's success. Our reporter Sandy Chi brings us this story.
Barbie, a sexist doll or feminist icon. However you look at it, toy maker Mattel's taken the world by storm since 1959, and its plastic dolls remain some of the world's most popular toys. But behind the scenes, Taiwan played an important role in the brand's success. Here in Taishan, a small town in the country's north, the Meining factory was once a major manufacturing base, producing most of the Barbie dolls in the world. Retired factory worker Xu Julian was part of it.
我在这边服务了6年，待过缝纫部跟福利社。
Xu joined the doll manufacturing plant at the age of 17. And in the 1970s, she and about 8,000 other workers made about 80% of the world's Barbie dolls.
你看一天多少几千位员工在生产，每天在做，能够销到全世界。像我们一个玩具可能玩个几年嘛，对不对？可是天天生产呢，你还可以销售出去，那也真的不简单呢。
And most of the staff there were young women.
大部分都是女性，那么每一个女孩子都是非常勤劳、非常漂亮。那这个工厂每当下班的时候，整个马路都是美女一大堆，因为它男性比较少。
Taishan was an ideal location for Mattel to make the dolls, as it was an important hub for petrochemical and textile industries in Taiwan. Government incentives also helped, providing cheap labor. Though the factory produced most of the Barbies in the world, they were all sold overseas. It was only until 1982 did they sell it domestically here in Taiwan, and it is this Barbie here in my hand. Back then, one Barbie cost over $30, which was about a month's worth of wages here at the factory. Staff who could not afford to buy the dolls would sometimes take parts of them home, putting them together themselves later.
只要是女生都会喜欢它吧，只是碍于当时的经济呀，销售状况听说是还不错啦，因为有能力买的人买嘛，像我们这些就可能会考虑啦。
But the industrial boom didn't last forever. The factory closed in 1987 due to rising labor costs. But some workers there have continued to work with Barbie. Xu is a volunteer at Taishan's Barbie Museum, which was set up in 2004. It's a place for people like Xu to share their stories about the iconic doll, in hopes that more people will remember how this small town once played a significant role in Barbie's success. Kamashu and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
70 years after the first nuclear weapons test in history, some victims of its fallout feel forgotten. Now, with Oppenheimer expected to sweep this year's Oscars, they're speaking up. Bryn Thomas takes a look.
At 5:29 a.m. on July 16th, 1945, the United States tested the world's first atomic bomb in the state of New Mexico. Less than a month later, it dropped one in Hiroshima and another on Nagasaki, the first and only use of nuclear weapons in combat, ending World War II, the bloodiest war in history. The bombs killed as many as 226,000 people in Imperial Japan, but they were not the first victims of a nuclear age. People living near Ground Zero of the first test in New Mexico were also affected.
And I asked him, I can remember asking him, Dad, what happened? Did the sun blow up? Well, it was so bright you couldn't see anything. And after, I guess, 10 or 15 minutes, it just started going away, and it just turned red, and then it went away. And then days later, all this ash started falling out. But yeah, I couldn't figure out what had happened, and nobody else did, because they did not tell us anything.
Who gave them the power to destroy themselves?
70 years later, the Trinity Test is back on everyone's minds. Christopher Nolan's biopic Oppenheimer, which details the development of the first free bombs, and their creator, physicist Robert Oppenheimer, is expected to sweep this year's Oscars. It's a far cry from 1945, when the atomic bomb, codenamed the Manhattan Project, was the United States' best-kept secret.
And I know days later my dad asked somebody about it, and all we ever got was that the ammunition dump blowed up. That's all they ever told us.
The Burris family was living 40 kilometers downwind from the blast, in a remote part of New Mexico the U.S. government considered uninhabited. In reality, thousands of people lived within 80 kilometers of the site. In the days after the test, torrential rains exposed their land, water supply, and food chain to radiation.
We didn't count for anything. In the big picture of things, we didn't count for anything. They thought we were expendable. They thought that it was no big deal if they detonated a bomb right in the middle of where we were living. And they have treated it like that ever since. They said at the time that the area was remote and uninhabited.
The U.S. went on to open-air test nearly 1,000 weapons in Nevada, Utah, and New Mexico. Many studies show it resulted in higher rates of cancer in people living there.
I've got skin cancers. You look right there behind my ear. Look right there. You see that stuff? That's what that is. That's what come from those bombs, and all down the side of my neck there.
Burris lost his brother to cancer. His sister had it, and his niece has it now. And as New Mexicans, they weren't covered under the U.S.'s Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, which only provided for people in Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. No New Mexican has received any compensation for the effects of the tests, and their story is left out of the film Oppenheimer.
Tens of millions of people are going to see this film. They could still add at the end of the film a panel acknowledging our sacrifice and suffering. But wouldn't it be remarkable if during the Academy Awards, even one of them, any one of them said, I want to acknowledge the sacrifice and the suffering of the people of New Mexico.
In the end, Oppenheimer is a 3-hour movie about a bomb with just one explosion. But that blast and its effects can be felt generations later in places like New Mexico. Devin Tsai and Bryn Thomas for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is known for its lush subtropical jungles, but native plant species are being squeezed out by invasive ones, planted by people. One national park has brought in volunteers to fight back. Rik Glauert has the details.
These princess vines look beautiful, with their aerial roots swaying and glistening in the sunlight. But this plant is not native to Taiwan, and it's spreading rapidly.
因为土被它抢了，阳光被它抢了，什么都没有，所以这些植物就没有办法再生长出来。
A recent report says the princess vine is just one of some 380 invasive species found in Kaohsiung Sosan National Nature Park. That's a huge amount compared to the 500 native species there. And these foreign plants were brought in by people.
像柴山有什么里长休息区，有秘密花园啊，有这2个地方。那这个都其实就是民众拿家里的植物来种的。
These invasive species have spread rapidly over the past few years, so the park has called for volunteers to help halt that spread.
如果我们现在不开始控制它的数量的话，那未来可能会很严重，可能会到整个林下通都慢慢都是它。
It's not just plants being crowded out by the newcomers. Many native insect species rely on indigenous flora to survive. So if the native plants go, so do the bugs. Conservationists are calling on people to stop planting foreign species, to leave room for native species to thrive. Leon Lien and Rik Glauert for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally today, check out these images of the Tree Climbing International Championship in central Taiwan. I'm Rik Glauert, take care, and we will see you next time.